We are live, and you know I have to say it. It's Speak It Thursday, and I'm your girl, Shulie. We are back for another inspiring conversation. We already have people coming in and taking their virtual seats. Get seated, join our virtual audience, share this on your social media, let people know, start a watch party. We have a conversation. It's a full house. We have lots of Black girl magic in here. We have Kelly P. Hodges. She's here from Houston. She is a soror. I'm just so used to calling her Soror Kelly. And that's how she greets everybody. She is going to keep it right. She'll get you right. She's the reason that I am back active in the sorority. But Kelly P. Hodges is the founder and CEO of Hodges Communication Group. She is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. She's the South Central Connection State Coordinator, and she's the member of Omicron Tau Omega chapter in Spring, Texas. And of course, she is Gram Fam. Yes, and we love her. And then we have Twila Dotson of Houston, Texas, also a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. We're going to see how many times we can say that tonight. She's back. We're calling her our Speak It political enthusiast. She was on and she blessed us last week. She broke down the election and everything that was going on, and she schooled us. She is a lover of politics. And then tonight we have somebody from Chicago, Illinois. Illinois. Let me get that right. Sorry, Monica. We have Monica Gordon from the Southland area. She is a community advocate, director of government affairs and community relationships at Chicago State University. She's a former candidate for 40th District Illinois Senate. And she's a former executive director at Illinois Legislative Black Caucus Foundation. And she went to Northern Illinois University and Governor State. She's a Governor State alum, but she is also Gram Fam. She started her matriculation there, and she's still there. But let me bring up, wait, who are we adding to the stream? He was fluffing his beard and making himself cute.
Just tell all my business.
I'm telling your business. This is my partner in conversation, LB Jenkins. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing well tonight. How are y'all doing out there on this in this virtual world with everything that's going on? Man, we have a great guest, a panelist as my partner in conversation. My PNC has already stated. All these beautiful ladies of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, these beautiful Gram Fams, and these illustrious leaders on our African-American side of the fence. So, man, enjoying it. I'm just excited to just be in the presence of so much capacity, so many mind-blowing African-American women tonight. So, hey, I'm here.
Hey, we just shattered a ceiling. We're out here shattering.
All my business, Amy.
Amy said LB just got busted. But yeah, we're out here shattering glass ceilings. We already know what went down. That Biden-Harris ticket brought it on in, and we're excited. And we just, without further ado, we're going to bring these ladies out and converse, not conversate. We're going to converse. All right. So the way we show applause is through our hearts. We like, we share, and we show love. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So our Kelly is running up on the virtual stage. We have Monica Gordon running up on the virtual stage, and we have our political enthusiast, Sarah Twila, here in the house. How are you ladies doing?
Fine.
Good. Everybody is so beautiful. All right. Let's get this party started. And we're going to set it off with Kelly P. Hodges of Hodges Communication Group. I have to ask you all of the questions, right? My criteria for asking you all on either you had a political affiliation, HBCU affiliation, Greek or D9 affiliation, all of the above, one or all of the above, right? One, the other, or all. When did you fall in love with HBCUs, Alpha Kappa Alpha, and politics?
Woo, that's a lot. I need my own show. Oh, I do have my own show.
But you have your own.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I fell in love with HBCUs when I saw School Days. I went to a predominantly white high school, and when I saw School Days, I thought, they do that somewhere? You know, so that it was at that moment that I made up my mind that I knew I was going to a Black college. Didn't know how I was going to get there. Didn't have a trust fund. Didn't have a college fund. But I knew I was going to an HBCU. And so I was able. I went to Grambling State University on a basketball scholarship. First time I ever went to. First time I ever entered Louisiana was the day my mom dropped me off at Grambling State University. And when I tell you, standing out in front of the student union watching that band roll up Main Street, I was like, ah! So, yeah, it was a very my Black college experience. It was the best. My mother had to call. I was telling my aunt this the other day. I said, my mama called me and said, when are you coming home? Because I was about to get another degree. I was working on my master's in sports administration. I knew I loved where I was. I had a 2-bedroom furnished apartment with a washer and dryer. My rent was $425. My car note was $115. I had a Grand Am. I was living the life. I wasn't interested in all this I got going on now. So I was good. My mother was like, you need to come home. And I was like, but it's another program. Grambling is launching and I'm really interested in it. And she was like, you need to come home. So that's how I ended up back home, because I'd probably still be at Grambling State University.
First of all, shout out to the Grand Am and the 425 rent.
Yes. Oh yeah. You know, my Grand Am. We got stories we can tell you. Man,
hold on, and take it back to being fully furnished at 425. Those were the days.
Fully furnished. Thank you to my landlords. Oh God, I can't even think of his name. Ended up being and the Beltons, they're very affluent attorneys in the area now. I think they may have even be like mayor or something like that. But I love them. They were and it was nice. I had a nice apartment. I was right behind the Easy Mart on was that right there.
My sister lived there. Look, we're getting all personal. My sister lived there.
So stay focused.
So I fell in love with Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated when my big sister, Eleanor Stith L, from Cleveland, Ohio, she was my roommate. And she was pledging. So when I say I pledged a long time, AKA I pledged a long time, many years, because she pledged fall 91, which is when I got there. So, as the roommate, I went through a lot of stuff with her. Mind you, I was a freshman. And I was like, what is going on? So that's when I really fell in love with Alpha Kappa Alpha. And she went through her process. So I love L. I love the sorority and all that the sorority stands for. And to have an Alpha Kappa Alpha woman in the highest level of government in the United States of America is just awesome. Not only that, but that she attended an HBCU.
Yes.
Because so many times we get a bad rap. HBCUs get a bad rap. Don't go out. It's going to be rough on you when you get out. The networking is not there. We get a bad rap. And so to have her there, it's just amazing. And I will continue to pray for her.
Yes.
And just do all that I can on this side to support her the initiatives of this administration.
That's it. And that's what we have to do. And that's why we're here to talk about that, the goodness that's going on. And like you said, I think you all will do an excellent job of rallying us to let us know how we can actually be supportive during this time. Bridget Wilkins, Graham fam, shout out to the Graham fam that came to support tonight. Welcome everybody. Thank you for tuning in. You said 80. That's where that was. Where your apartment was on 80.
80. Okay.
Yes. 80. Okay. So next up. All right, Monica, tell us, when did you fall in love with Grambling State University? And I know you went to other places, and that's cool. We love you. Hey, so when did you fall in love with Grambling State University? Because you spent some time there in politics.
Well, I went to Grambling University in '95. I spent 2 years there, so I'm Graham fam all the way. And if it wasn't for the out-of-state fee, I probably would have graduated from Grambling. So I went to two undergrads. I went to Grambling for 2 years, and I went to Northern for 2 years, and I graduated from Northern. But I tell you, I remember, so my mom, my aunt, and my grandma, they dropped me off to school in Louisiana. And I have a lot of family, like my paternal side is from Louisiana. So we got there like 1 o'clock in the morning. I remember they were partying outside, and my aunt was like, I don't know about this, Mom. I know about this. I'm gonna have a good time. And I had a really good time. And I do want to address how you guys stated before about how sometimes HBCUs get a bad rep. And that's so unfortunate, because really, when you graduate from an HBCU, the network, the previous classes come together to help the recent graduates. So to be honest with you, for most people, there are more opportunities with your network if you come from an HBCU. And that's something I learned after I graduated from undergrad. So I would say in terms of politics, federal politics, all my life, but local politics, state government, I would say about 6 years ago, I fell in love with state government. And, some people don't think it's as, they don't think it's as glamorous as federal. But when you think about policy, a lot of good policy is made at the local level. And when you think about learning the legislative process, which can be complex sometimes, when you start at the state level, it kind of gives you more of a inside perspective, where it makes it easier for you to understand it at the federal level. And I hope I answered your question, Shulie.
No, that's it. No, that was all the things. When you fell in love with Grambling State University, that
as soon as I got there.
As soon as you got there. I know people have that drop-off story. I didn't have to drive too far. I drove, Winfield, Louisiana, a good old hour. But it's still like the energy of being on the yard and being there for the first time. So no, that's perfect. And then you already started dropping some knowledge to us about how this political machine works. And we need to know that. We need to be empowered. So thank you for that. And next up, we have Twila. Go ahead and let us know. So you went to it was Northeastern at that time, right? But now it's called ULM for undergrad, but then you ended up over there at Southern University. Tell us about that.
You jumped in the middle. You jumped in the middle. I actually, if I had gone straight from high school to where I originally was going to go, it would have been Grambling. At the time, my major was going to be physical therapy, but I was advised by a Gramblingite, as a matter of fact, to not come to Grambling, but to go to LSU, because the physical therapy school was an LSU school. And she felt as though it would be an easier opportunity for me to get into the physical therapy school because I would have been a student at LSU. I hated it. Matter of fact, not only did I hate LSU, I did not like physical therapy. So I ended up changing my major. That's how I ended up in New Orleans, and did my stint at Dillard and enjoyed it too much and ended up having to come home to go ahead and finish. So I did my last year at Louisiana College. Okay. When I went back to get my master's, I went to Southern. So that's how I ended up getting my master's in recreational therapy from Southern University. But I will say that between New Orleans and then coming home, I did make that one little stop at Northeast. It was cool, but that wasn't my lick either, especially after having gone to a Black school. That wasn't popping. So I just went ahead, came on home, saved my mom and daddy some money, and got on out of school.
So then that would explain how you know everybody.
And that's exactly how I know everybody, because I definitely took a scenic route. Hey, but I got out.
You got out, but you graduated. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
That's brings us to that, right? HBCUs produce just high level talent, people that are functioning. They're flexible in life and just out Black excellence. Let's just go ahead and start that conversation. HBCUs are responsible for a lot of the Black excellence. Talk to us about, like you said, that your journey, Kelly, like, did attending an HBCU open any doors for you? Did it prepare you? Because you are Black excellence. You've been ahead of some stuff, honey.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Please don't make me cry on no crying on the podcast. But I can tell you, what I didn't share is that I came home because my youngest sister was diagnosed with a disease called sarcoidosis, and I needed to be home and help my mom with her. So thinking about that network, I was on my way to Atlanta. I actually had an internship and a position with the Women's Basketball Coaches Association because I got my master's in sports administration. So I was headed to Lilburn, Georgia, which is a suburb of Atlanta. But I came home. I had no contacts in Houston at all. If it had not been for Grambling State University alumni, Cynthia Buggage, who is from Donaldsonville, Louisiana, Grambling alum. She was working at the city of Houston. She helped me get my internship for the master's program. Our sorority sister, Yolanda Wills Broughton, who coached at Texas Southern University, she was working on her master's at the time as well. We both ended up interning together with the city of Houston. We helped develop the city of Houston youth sports basketball program for girls because they did not have one. So we worked for free for a whole semester, and then they ended up hiring some people to run our program, but I'm not going to talk about that because I love my man, but he wasn't the mayor at the time. But yeah, so with that being said, had it not been for the resources that being Grambling State University alum, and then also being a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, I don't know what I would have done because I didn't have any contacts in Houston. And we originally moved, I'm not from Houston. I was born in East St. Louis, Illinois. My family moved here when I was 10 years old. So it wasn't like I could call my aunt or that worked over here or a cousin. It was none of that. And so I had to really dig deep into those Grambling resources. I was connected. I reached out to the Alumni Association, and also the Houston Area Urban League was very helpful. Eric Good, I will never forget how much he helped me. And he's still with the Urban League to this day. And whenever I see him, I thank him for his patience and his kindness with me. That man, and he spent the whole day faxing out my resume. That's how long, that was late 96. We were faxing resumes, and there wasn't no email and doing all that. We were faxing resumes. So because of that network, Grambling, HBCU, Divine Nine, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, it opened doors for me. And what I tell people all the time, it's not even about a hookup, but if it's 30 folks vying for the same job and they're just as qualified as you are, the idea of being able to pick up the phone and say, hey, Sarah, do you know so-and-so in this department? All I need is an interview. You know, that's the difference. We're not asking for a hookup and we're not qualified. We want to get ahead of the line. And our PWI has been doing it for generations. So what's wrong with us doing it and taking advantage of that? And that's basically what I did. And that's how my career started in Houston and working with communications, nonprofit sector, all of that. But I attribute all of that to Grambling State University, the relationships that I made there, the Houston Alumni Association of Grambling State University, the DLW chapter, as a matter of fact, Douglas L. Williams chapter, Cynthia Buggage, and I thank Mr. Cravens, because if it were not for him, he was the recruiter, a Grambling alum that saw my video. He was a friend of a friend, saw my high school basketball tape, gave it to Coach Bibbs and said, you need to have this girl on your team. That's how I even got to Grambling. So when you think about how that network comes full circle, it came full circle for me. And I'm tearing up just thinking about it because I know how blessed I am. I mean, because I'm first generation and 3 generations in my family to go to college. So, I mean, it is what it is. Yeah.
Now, listen, and I see you, and that is an amazing journey, right? So many people wish they could have had the opportunities that you were allotted. And so God showed his favor on you. So, you know, I'm sharing this emotion with you right now. So earlier I heard you talk about what was that? It's okay. Look, you need a moment. It's okay. Earlier I heard you talk about school days, right? And how that contributed to your mental thought of what the Black college experience was looking like. So, do you honestly feel that that movie gave you everything you needed to get that off to just attend a Black university? Did it kind of lay out everything that you needed? I think she's frozen. Twila, can you answer that for us till we get her back? Since you attended some of HBCU.
But you know what? My parents are both Grambling graduates.
Okay.
So I knew, as a matter of fact, my grandmother went to Grambling. She didn't finish. She did a semester there and then, came home. She couldn't afford it. But my mother and my father and all of my mother's sisters went. So that's all I knew. I'm telling you, when I left high school, that's where I was going. Had it not been, and I know she meant well in what she said, but had it not been for that particular young lady telling me, I love Grambling, but I really think LSU is going to be your better bet, because the physical therapy school was LSU's school. So she did that thinking that it was going to be like I said, a better mechanism for me getting in there. But as far as my desire to go, that was always there. Now, I think for me, really seeing the full out, what I would consider really truly seeing what going to an HBCU would be like, I'm going to say that was probably more through a different world, because you actually got to see them attending class. Really, that second year, that first year, they were kind of seeing what fit, what didn't fit, this, that, and the other. But that second year, once Debbie Allen took it on as a director, you started seeing the Greeks. You started seeing them hang out at the pit. You started seeing them go to class and having very, very intelligent conversations with their professors, having connections with their professors and things. That really, really laid it out. School days really more showed you the Greek side. So if you had never seen that, you were like, ooh, what's that? Yeah. But again, I had an advantage because both of my parents are Greek. My mother's Alpha Theta, aka from Grambling. My daddy is Delta Sigma, A Phi A. So I already kind of knew that. But this actually helped me with actually saying, okay, this is what this is supposed to look like. So
yeah, and that's amazing, because I have to be very honest with you. Had it not, a different world messed me up, because I thought school was supposed to be. I was looking for Dwayne, Wayne, and Whitley, and I got there. And then when I was like, oh, this is what it means to be a different world, right? But tying that back into the Black excellence side of the conversation, right? Let's talk about how the experiences of being in the sororities, the grandest sororities that you guys are a part of, that you guys are members of, how does that contribute to your success as of where you are right now?
So I was going to say, it's so much more that I want to do in this world. I don't consider myself as being a success. I think I'm just, living my truth, living my purpose, and living what, God has led me to do. I don't even consider it, when people talk about success and things like that, I don't see that. I'm so just grateful and blessed that I've been blessed to have in my career, every job I've had, except for one, I truly loved. And, I consider myself, I didn't get an opportunity to answer that question about when I fell in love with politics. So I'll wrap it into this, but I don't consider, I'm really not in love with politics, because I am a public servant, and I'm in love with change. I'm in love with seeing, I'm in love with community engagement. I love mobilizing people to make change. I love educating our community. And yes, I love educating. When I say our community, I mean the Black and Brown community, because that's the community that I've spent my career serving. So for me, I don't consider it being, a level of success. I'm just blessed that I can come in and my lights turn on, and my car, it ain't never been on the back of a flatbed. I'm good. But it's not even, I don't, I don't equate it with success. I just equate it with living my life and just following my footsteps have been ordered, and I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do. That's how I think of it.
And I think that's the beauty of, like you said, what you said is just so powerful. And even before, the emotion that you shared, everybody, like you said, we can relate. And it's like we're family, and we're on here. We're talking to cousin Kelly, and we're talking to cousin Monica and cousin Twila and cousin LB, LeBrandon, and things like that. And when you're saying that, it's like, we feel you. It's a strong sense of pride. They prepare us. And then you hear stories, like you said, Twila, like an instance of someone saying, you should go here because this HBCU won't prepare you for the world or for your career. And then to hear you say, you were prepared, and the steps were ordered. That means going to Grambling was ordered. That means everything that you've done, everybody that you've met, every experience that you had prepared you. And I just feel like a lot of people have that story going to an HBCU where they felt like, well, I was going to go here, but then I ended up going here. But it's spiritual. I feel like it's a sense of family. I feel like it's everything. It's all things in life. And so I would say, with that said, how does it feel when you hear people diminish the value and the benefits of attending an HBCU?
Is that to me?
Anybody.
Okay. Well, let me first say, it wasn't that she didn't feel like it wasn't gonna be a good experience for me, or that going to Grambling wouldn't have prepared me. But again, because of the major that I had, her thought process was like, hey, when we get ready to, because she had actually applied to LSU and gotten in, but she really felt like, hey, they're going to look out for their own first. So it was like, go to LSU, because that way you'll be at the head of the line, as opposed to them having to pick all these other people from other schools who are going to be applying. So it wasn't that kind of thing. But again, it's almost like I was like, dang, I wish I hadn't listened, because if I hadn't listened, I would have been at Grambling. Well, and then to some degree, but I say that, but then if I hadn't gone through the route that I did, would I be where I am right now? So it took everything that I did and all the people who I met and everything for me to be where I am right now. As opposed to, back to your question about when I hear people say disparaging things about HBCUs, it's very disturbing. Most times I hear it from our own people. We have bought into the belief that the white man's ice is colder. And I'm here to tell you that water turns to ice at 0 degrees Celsius and 32 degrees Fahrenheit. And so ice is ice regardless of where it is. I push back on that belief of that the HBCU is in any way lesser, because I know that for myself, if it had not been, and I can say this for Southern University, I love Grambling. And when we go to the Bayou Classic, I'm always on Grambling's side. But the degree that I got from Southern University, A&M College and University on the Bluff, is what keeps my lights on right now. I've never been without a job. And even when I was in need or had to seek counsel, I could always call back to Miss Rosie Turner. I bet you can't find anybody at LSU that they can say they could call back at any one of those schools and say they could call back and talk to any of their professors. Whenever there was a need whenever we needed students to come and intern, we could always either call Grambling or we could call Southern, because those were the two schools that had recreational therapy in the state. The only two schools, the Black schools at that. So I push back on that. And that's why I'm so glad that with the elevation of Kamala Harris, that she has shown, number one, it can be done. She went to what some would call the uppermost house of Black universities, coming from Howard and being a Black Greek. All of that just catapulted all of that, being HBCU, BGLOs, all of that. It put it all in motion. So there was a lot of Googling the night that she made her acceptance speech. I know it was.
Okay, go ahead real quick before we move on. Tell the people BGLO, in case they don't know. We know HBCU,
Black Greek letter organizations.
Right. And the narrative that you just created for the audience is just an outstanding one, right? Because when we're talking about the successes of coming from an HBCU, I tell people all the time, I've actually had to have some very disturbing conversations with people of color, trying to diminish the degree that I have, or diminish the credentials that I have, right? And sometimes, one time I had to ask somebody, and what is your job, and how much do you make an hour from that PWI? Sometimes we have to bring it back home, But do you really feel like, being that we are great achievers coming from an HBCU, right? Do you feel like we always have to be in defense mode because of where we chose to pursue our education?
I think it just comes so natural for us to be ready to. We boot up.
Yeah.
We just boot up.
Yeah.
We're just ready to be able to defend and protect our heritage and our legacy, because we know how important it is, and we know what standing in that financial aid line means. We know yes. And we know what calling home crying, saying I'm about $30-$40 short. We need to, I need help. So, for us, it's a sense of purpose and a sense of pride, because we know what our ancestors did for us to get to where we are. I think so. We're always ready. We just always ready to put up a good fight, because we know what it took for us to get to where we are.
And I think that HBCUs being birthed from a historical perspective is important, because knowing your history gives you confidence. And confidence is important for performance. When we talk about Black excellence, we talk about work ethic, we talk about optimal performance. And what it does for you when you know your history, and I think about those courses like Lyceum, the freshman seminar that we initially complained about, but we later find the benefits of taking those courses. And so I also went to a selective admissions high school, and it reflected the population of the United States. It was about 12% Black at the time. And so I've had that experience. And so I wanted an experience where I was learning within that historical context, that I was around all of this Black excellence. And I know we didn't call it that then, but because I was always a student of Black history since I was a little girl, my dad taught me about the Black Panther chapter of Chicago. I remember my uncle and my grandfather, like Black history was big in my household and my family. So that was something that was important to me. So I always had this pride. So we didn't call it Black excellence then, but I knew I wanted to be around Black people that were gifted, were moving forward, who were willing to work collaboratively in a learning environment to make sure everybody was good. And like I said before, you develop this camaraderie, you develop this network of people from all over the country, profound Black people all over the country. And now 20 years later, look at what we're all doing. And I'm so grateful that, Graham Fam reached out to me so I could have this conversation with you ladies and gentlemen tonight.
Okay, thank you.
I'm about to get a jelly and cry, like just
don't
even.
You start. Don't start.
I know.
Listen,
we're about
don't
to cry. This is a reunion right now. We're about to go into a family reunion. The inauguration is about to be homecoming, but very emotional. Go ahead, Lorraine. I just had to say I was getting emotional.
No, you're fine. And listen, and to say the least, this is what this is about. We've done HBCU shows before, and we took it from another perspective, but I don't think that many people truly understand the unity that it is, right? We argue for Bayou Classic, right? But at the end of the day, I dare you to say something about Southern University, right? The first person who offered me my job, and I'm getting ready to get to my question, but the first person I walked into an interview at central office, and Archie Blanson said, "Oh, you went to Grambling? Oh, you're an Alpha? I'm calling 7 schools for you right now. You will start interviewing tomorrow." He didn't even say 2 words to me other than, oh, you went to Grambling? Oh, you know, and those kind of things. It wasn't a hookup. I interviewed for the position, but he allowed the door to be open. And that is what people fail to realize. People in HBCUs have some of the highest positions out there, and they want to hire people like us. They want to hire people that came from, HBCUs, because they know the quality of work and ethic that we will bring to the table, right? But my friend mentioned about, knowing your history, right? And understanding your history and how powerful that can be. So I want to ask this question about the history that was just made. I've had a president that looked like me, but now there's a lady in top office with a cabinet that looks like all of these beautiful women on this panel tonight. Let's talk about that feeling for you guys. What did that do and say to you to know that there is an African American woman who wears the same letters as you, that has graduated from an HBC like you, that may have hair like you, feet like you, skin color like you, and she is now in office? Let's talk about that history.
Well, I have a great sense of pride, but I've always had that great sense of pride because I think about the women that came before her. I think about our Barbara Jordans. I think about our Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. I think about all of the women have in politics and leadership roles that have paved the way for her. I'm so excited for her. I think this is definitely a new beginning for us in this country, in this nation. Like I said, I'm going to continue to pray for her. I know that we know the struggle is real, and I'm willing to, I'm going to support what I can to support the administration. But it's a great sense of pride, to be able to turn the TV on and see, and the fact that she's my sorority sister makes it even better. And the fact that she attended a historically Black college and university, Howard University, makes it even better. It's just amazing. I saw a T-shirt on social media a little girl was wearing, and it said, "My vice president," I think it said, "My vice president looks like me." And I just thought, oh my God, growing up, we didn't see that, but it's just amazing. But I'm glad to see her, and I think about all the people, all the other women in Congress and in political positions that paved the way for her.
And I also think about the camaraderie that was displayed during this election season. I'm very proud that Kamala's in this position. And you have those sisters that help get her in a position, help get her and Biden get in that position. I mean, the work Stacey Abrams did with Fair Fight, registering over 800,000 voters. I mean, he took her defeat in that governor's race, and I mean, she completely used it to her advantage. It gave her the motivation to make true change, as you said earlier. And in addition to that, my girl, Mayor Keisha Lance-Bottoms. I'm very impressed with the work she's doing in Atlanta. I heard a little rumor, I read it somewhere this morning about her possibly being tapped for HUD, the Secretary of HUD position. I think that's perfect for her, considering all the things she's done with housing and development in Atlanta. So just when you have this group of powerful sisters that's not taking any prisoners, that's going after whatever they want in life, and they're willing to risk it all, they're willing to sacrifice to create change for all of us, to create change so we can embrace additional progress in the future. So yeah, it was a collaborative effort, and the camaraderie displayed, it just swells my heart with pride, hope, and emotion.
Twila.
Let us hear from Twila. Go ahead and unmute. Okay. Let's hear, because you ladies, I need everybody's reaction to this.
At this point, I don't think I've taken it all in. I mean, for me, I was just so relieved when it was announced that I haven't even, because immediately people were like, are you crying? Are you excited? I haven't even cried yet because I know that there's still so much more to do. I'm still so focused on those Georgia Senate seats, but I'm very, very, very proud of her. It was really about time because Black women overwhelmingly have been the backbone of the Democratic Party for a long time. I mean, we can look at the Senate race that happened in Alabama just a couple of years ago, in which Doug Jones ended up winning, but it was because of Black women. He was running against a very flawed candidate, a judge who had supposedly been inappropriate with some young white girls, but the mothers of those white girls still voted for him. It was Black women who came out and made it possible for Doug Jones to get that seat. He has since lost that seat in Alabama, which is why now those 2 Senate seats in Georgia are even more so important. But going back to how important it is and how proud we are of Sarah Kamala. I mean, words can't even begin to express, but this has been a long time coming, starting with Shirley Chisholm, who was unbought and unbossed. So it's just every few years, a little bit closer, a little bit closer, a little bit closer. And to Monica's point, what Stacey Abrams did was just phenomenal. No doubt about it. I look for her to take over the DNC.
And Shulie, I know you're hosting this great conversation, but I would like to know how you felt.
Deep breath. Also, like you said, very, very proud. And to see, I felt empowered. I felt like it was me. It's one of those when one is victorious, we can all feel victorious. I felt like it dispelled myths that we can't work together as a people, that we can't work together as Black women. There's this narrative that we are competitive and that it's always a cat fight and all of that kind of stuff. It was a beautiful moment to see, and I felt inspired, like I could do anything, like you said. And it also made me want to learn more about politics. It made me want to support her because I know that the election is just the start. She's VP elect. She's not in office yet. We know that there's some resistance there, and it is going to take us doing our work on a local level. Like Monica said previously, this election made it, I would say, paramount, like the fact that we need to vote. We need to vote. We need to be involved, and the change starts with us getting involved in our communities around us. And so, yeah, it made me inspired to do more for the community and to move this thing forward. We're just not going to put her in office and then just leave her out there hanging.
Correct.
To make sure that this incoming administration is successful.
Right. And the one thing about it is that when you look at this in totality, Black people, some of the brown people, but the majority of these Black people, the way that they bind it together to make this happen. I'm looking at the fact that it wasn't about Alpha Kappa Alpha. It was about being Greek. You know what I mean? Greeks just band together. It was, I'm like, my mother's a Delton. She pledged in 72. And she was like, I got on my pearls and chucks today too. And she sent me a picture, just the feeling of accomplishment. She called and I'm talking about child crime, but I'm trying not to get emotional too. Because I look at the fact of my mother and my grandmother, how hard they fought to be able to see this become accomplished, at this time, and the work that they put in through, my grandmother being born in 23, so you can imagine what she went through. My mother going to school in the 50s, you can imagine what she's going through. And so the tears that my mother cried when she called me to say, this is what she said. She said, well, Brandon, we have a new president, but we have a Black female vice president. And she just started crying. And the emotion that I could feel over the phone let me know that she feels like we have finally arrived. Yeah, we had Obama, right? We get it. But a woman of color in a position of power like that speaks triple the volume, in my opinion, than what. So let me stop, because now I'm getting emotional. So take it back from it. Hold on, I'm about to hit this camera button. Hold on.
He's for shooken. He's for shooken. And it's beautiful. And I'll say, first of all, to those of you who are tuning in, whether this is on the rebroadcast, just let us know that you're listening. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Speak It with Shulie, and I have my partner in conversation, LB Jenkins. We have our guest in house tonight, Black Girl Magic, these beautiful women. We have Kelly P. Hodges, Monica Gordon, and Twila Dotson, and we are talking about Black excellence and what we just experienced. I'm going to read a couple comments, and then we're going to talk about some of the people that didn't feel so good about it, because we have some people that don't share the same opinion, and I feel like it's worth noting. But first we have Candace Williams, Alpha Theta, Spring 98, my line sister, that says, I was happy that my 16-year-old daughter could see someone like her as VP-elect. And she said it was about unity. And Paula Sun said, I love it, and all of the emotion. Welcome. And then Alexandria Green Jones says the trifecta: Keisha, Stacey, and Kamala. It's, again, so many people are speechless. It's emotional. I was staring at the TV just like a little kid watching cartoons on a Saturday morning with that cereal bowl. I was tuned in. And when she gave Black women their props for their support, how did you feel? This is loaded. How did you feel about that? And then also, how did you feel when you heard that everybody wasn't team Black woman HBCU D9? It's loaded. Let's go. Who's first?
I will go ahead and take a shot at that. I expected her to, give it up, give her appreciation to Black women. She's a Black woman. So I wouldn't have expected anything less. Now let's talk about the people, and I'm assuming you mean the people internally, family who has issues with Kamala. So let me say this. I don't speak harshly of someone who has their opinion. If it's based on facts, if it's credible, and I'll say this: no candidate is perfect, and no person is perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. But things I was hearing during the election was, the Democratic Party has failed Black people. They take advantage of the Black vote. They think they own the Black vote. I've heard, people talked about the crime bill with Biden. They talked, I want to be very candid here. I had an issue with Kamala's truancy bill a long time ago, but that's okay. She made a mistake and she owned up to that, just like Biden made a mistake in his past and owned up to that. We all make mistakes. You learn as you progress. And think about it, especially when it comes to policy. You learn more about policy through your own experiences and what you go through. So the way you feel about one issue may be totally different on how you feel about it later. And my thing was, I do think I'm a proud Democrat, first of all. But I think as a party, yes, we need to show more appreciation to the Black women and men who, bring the votes in. We do need to show more appreciation, and how we show that appreciation is with opportunity. And I think that we brought that to the forefront. So we got to hold them accountable regardless. We have to hold them accountable. I reviewed Biden's plan for Black America to lift every voice. I think it's a great start. I do. Do I think it's additional things that could be added? Yes. And I'm sure there will be. But I would say that, I supported as soon as, I knew Joe Biden was up. And as soon as he picked Kamala, of course, I was going to stand behind them and support them, because I am a proud Democrat and I believe in the ideals of the Democratic Party. But at the same time, I understand if there is some discontent with the party as well. And I don't think there's anything wrong with someone questioning a candidate. But timing is everything, first of all. And this election was very serious. This election, and usually I say, when people talk about the presidential election. I'm like, well, who you voting down ballot? Because that's not the most important race for you. But this time, this race was extremely important. But yeah, that's how no candidate is perfect. No person is perfect. If we want people to forgive us for our faults and our wrongs of the past, we have to do the same thing. I know that both of them, whatever mistake they made in policy years and years ago, they will do better moving forward. And I'm gonna still hold them accountable. I'm gonna watch closely, and I'm very optimistic for the next 4 years, the next 8 years.
Come on, 8 years.
Let's move it. Let's go ahead on and move it to 16 because we're gonna get her in office when he finishes his second term. So we're gonna go ahead on and let's listen. I'm for it. I was one of those men who defended her, not defended her honor, but defended her reputation in several conversations, only because, like you said, everybody makes mistakes, right? But you can't get me to commit something behind something that you heard. I'm going to always ask you for the facts, right? So when they got talking about, oh, was she imprisoned all these black men? So was she doing her job? That's the question that I wanted to know. Was that outside of her job qualifications? Because if they committed the crime, and then they deserve to do the time. If I go rob a bank and my dad is the president of the United States, that's not going to keep me from going on trial because I chose to do wrong. You understand what I'm saying? And so I was one of those men who was in her corner only because why are we tearing down a black woman who is trying to do better and trying to do more? And I had to have that conversation with several black men because of the simple fact of the matter is that when we get to making these comments as black men, we forget sometimes that we have a black mother. We forget sometimes that we have a black sister. We forget sometimes that we have a black grandmother, and we wouldn't want anyone to dispel rumors about them, whether they're factual or not, right? So we have to keep those kinds of things in mind because as a community, we tear ourselves down the fastest, right? Sometimes we are our worst enemy as being people of color. And so if I have a disagreement, that is my personal opinion and I'm entitled to it. But my opinion should not mean tearing you down to where you are trying to discredit what everyone is doing, especially if you don't have the facts, right? So that's my disclaimer. I'm off of that soapbox. So sorry. I'm very passionate. I'm just very passionate about this lady becoming the first African-American black president. Female president, right. Yeah.
Alexandria Green Jones says black men crying for female empowerment is what they march for. So, Kelly, it's like you have something on your heart that you want to share about this.
Well, in all transparency, I would have voted for the gecko on the Geico commercial if they were running against Trump at this point. So, and the fact that we had two qualified candidates and one of them I could identify with, looked like me. She probably eat her cornbread and greens with her fingers like I do. I mean, that was a win-win. But for where we are right now, I just can't imagine. I couldn't imagine who, not voting, so and I actually, had a friend, a close friend of mine, and we had a few, we had an exchange of words via social media because I just didn't appreciate her response on my Facebook page when President-elect Joe Biden announced Senator Harris as his running mate. And for me, she's a black woman. That was enough, and so we've elected so many other folks and that have been so not qualified. I feel like, and what bothers me is that we always have to justify and prove. I'm just tired of us always having to fight, and improve our worth and our value and the fact that we can do the job. And then getting lesser pay, and not as, much respect. It's just time out for that. And I think her credentials, she's more than qualified to do this job. And I just didn't feel like fighting with all that. I wasn't doing that. And I basically told people, if you have anything negative to say during this time period, you'll be silenced from my Facebook page. And after the election, you will be unsilenced. But right now, my thing was, she was an African-American woman running for one of the highest levels of government in the United States. And that was enough for me. I didn't need to see a resume. I was good, you know. I was good.
Twila,
that's dope, Kelly.
yeah,
That's
Twila,
dope.
what do you have to say about it too? And add on the fact, so we're saying African-American woman, but then some people were even questioning whether she was really black.
She was black, yeah.
Is she black?
They did President Obama the same.
Yeah, and it's so unfortunate that even amongst our own, it's almost like unless you were born and raised in the Cabrini Green in Chicago or the Desire Projects in New Orleans and had one or both parents to experience being members of the penal system and, having to, grow up on assistance, it's almost like you're not black unless you've had those experiences. And that's so unfortunate because that's not true. Even the TV shows that we've watched through the years have shown that there are so many different facets of our community. We've gone from seeing Good Times to seeing the Jeffersons who moved on up and eventually seeing, the Cosbys or the Huxtables, who a lot of people couldn't accept that because they were like, well, that's not, they're not really black. How unfortunate that that's how we have been trained to think that unless we have come out of a ghetto or come out of a project, that's not the black experience. I am sure that if we go back, Kamala probably got some Too Short. She probably got some, she out of Oakland. You know what I'm saying? So
she went to Howard.
You know what I'm saying? She's probably blowing the whistle. You know what I'm saying? So it's so unfortunate that, again, but that's coming from our own. You don't ever hear white people say that somebody's not white enough or that they're not really white. That only comes from us. So we have some internal demons that we need to really, really come to terms with. Again, even when it comes to the HBCU thing, I've never had a white person say, oh, that's where you went. It's always, nobody's really said that. I mean, they say like little nickel slick stuff, but and again, it's been our own. It's like, well, you went to Southern, but, or yeah, such and such with the Grambling, as if that's some shame to that. But again, that comes from our own. So we have, like I said, we have got to do some serious soul searching. White people don't call us nappy headed. We call our own selves nappy. White people, when I first had my locks, I had more white women trying to touch and feel up in my head. So I was like, no, babe, this was a spiritual move. You can't put your hands on my head. Okay. But that was an issue when I first started going natural. I had more black women who said, girl, what you gonna do with your hair? Now. But it's ours. We cannot grow up or continue on being afraid of our own hair. But again, that's one of those things that we have got to come to grips with, who we are and how we see ourselves. Our schools are not inferior. Okay. Our look, our hair, our lips, our hips are not inferior. We are not inferior. We are multifaceted. We're not a monolith. We have black people that, yes, grew up in the ghetto. We have some that grew up with silver spoons in their mouth. All of that is the black experience. This young lady happened to come out of a household in which her mother was Indian. Her father was Jamaican, all that's black. She grew up in Oakland. She went to Howard. She pledged AK. How much more black can she be? And the fact that that's even a conversation, you don't want to talk. You don't want to just silence people with it, but at a point, it's just some people I can't even engage with them in certain conversations because it's just too far ignorant for me.
And because I don't. My thing is, what is the level of black? I mean, how are we judging it? Like, how black are you? I
guess she had to have a 5-syllable name, or I mean, seriously, because that's what I'm saying. It's very, very. It says something for us that you can't. Your level of blackness is based upon how poor you were, how broken your English is, you know, that's terrible. You know, I will never forget being told that I spoke like a white, you know, oh, you talk white. What the hell is that? You know,
what is
I hate
that?
that.
No, for
I hate
another
that, and
day.
I hate the word good
Because
hair.
those
That phrase, good hair, I hate
Because those subjects and verbs.
No. Good hair and light skin. There you go, right there. Good hair and light skin.
Let's do this really quickly. This conversation, it always goes up to the next level. And Twila, our political enthusiast, said we need to start a speakeasy, which is the after portion, because it gets better the more time you spend and you warm up, and the conversation just gets richer and richer, and we just relaxing. That's what I said. This is not CNN. We speak the truth, but it's just very conversational. But first, let's get into this. We don't want to forget. I need to know, or we need to let the people know, how can they find you, Thora Kelly?
Oh, I have a wonderful social media manager, Alex Green Media, out of Wiley College, a member of, I think, Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority. I hope that I got that right. If not, she's going to kill me. So I'm all over social media. KP Hodges, my company, Hodges Communications Group. I actually have a podcast that we do. We just started last month. Well, I'm very excited about that. I was in prayer about that for a long time because I didn't want to just put something out there. I wanted to make sure it was good, healthy conversation, just like, you know, your program. So I'm all over social media. Kelly Hodges, KP Hodges, Kelly P. Hodges. You can find me. My company is Hodges Communications Group. If you're looking for someone to help you with public relations, marketing, you have a nonprofit, small business, we can work with you. We're a boutique shop, so we're very selective in the companies and organizations that we work with. And so that's who I am. And I'm also the executive director of the Houston Texans YMCA. So when I'm not doing all that, I'm at my office.
I know. So you didn't even mention that real quick. You didn't mention that when I asked for your blurb, and I was like, has she moved into her business?
I'm still there. It's just that when it comes to political things, you know, the Y is a nonprofit organization. So I'm speaking on behalf of Kelly P. Hodges tonight, but definitely the YMCA of Greater Houston, please support us. Make a donation at ymcahouston.org. We definitely need donations. You know, all nonprofits during the pandemic are going through a rough patch, but we, you know, we're still working in the community. We pivoted during this time frame, and we're still serving our community.
And we thank you. All right. Miriam Harris says, speak this, Twila Dotson. This needed to be said when you were talking before about, you were breaking down all the things. Tell us, how can they find you out here in these streets?
In these streets? Okay, well, very easily on Facebook, I'm just Twila Dotson. And then on Instagram, I'm at Reshee. That's RESHEE 69. That's my middle name, at Reshee 69.
All right. And then Monica, how can they find you? Unmute yourself.
Sorry about that. I am on Facebook at Monica Gordon. You can also Google me, Monica Gordon, Illinois. And also I will be starting a podcast in another month with one of my good friends. Her name is Inyota Figs. We have a podcast coming soon called Colored Girls of Cook County. So please look
Very
out for
good.
that.
I thank you all so much. Candace Williams says, I'm so proud of you all. Keep doing great things. The black excellence. I want to drop something really quickly. I had to do that. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Speak It. I'm your host. And remember, when you go out in this world, in the West African philosophy, ashe, that means you have the power to speak a thing into existence. Remember that you have the power to create or destroy with your words. Choose to create. All right. And we're going into the speakeasy. In the speakeasy, so you got into something real quick, Twila. We talked about what Black is, what Black is not, and how we need to connect and do better. How can we support? Like, what is it going to take for us to come together to support, to make sure that this administration is successful?
That's to me?
Yes.
Okay.
And then you all, I want to hear from everybody. Give us a little something.
You know, I'm really wrestling with that. As what I will say, and this goes back to something that Monica said, was the unity that was shown around not just the ticket, but particularly Kamala Harris, once she was selected as the running mate. I can tell you on the different pages that I was on, everybody was just so very, very supportive. And every now and then you would have somebody, again, because it was, all the Greeks, somebody would try to do something like, the Delta is in here, and they would quickly like, hey, y'all, this is not the time for some of that, craziness that we used to do. We are all trying to handle business here. So I think that when we start hearing conversations that are disparaging of her, that no matter who it is, like Kelly said, just automatically, hey, you got to shut that down. And hey, let's have this conversation. What is it about this sister or about this situation that you're not feeling? So maybe we can chop it up. It's a lot of it. I feel it's a lot of misinformation. Okay. And some people are just speaking out of something that they either saw on Facebook, which is not where you want to get your news. Okay. Then nobody wants to read anymore. Everybody wants to just see things in a quick blurb or whatever. No one is reading whole articles. Even when they see articles on Facebook, they'll read just the title, just the caption, and they'll keep it moving. And that's it. So, really having these deep conversations with people and, saying, okay, I heard what you said, but where are you getting that from? Okay, and why do you feel such and such and such? Some of the people who have an issue with her, going back to what LB said, as it relates to her record with brothers and stuff, if they were doing wrong, the woman was elected to be the DA. She couldn't just, that's the black man, I can't let him go to, no, and she was working within the system. Okay, that's something else people don't understand. She was working within a system that was laid out. So, and when you don't understand how the system works, then when you don't have a working idea of how things work, you totally want to throw the whole thing away. I believe that a lot of Black people were disappointed in Barack Obama because they just thought he was going to be able to go in and just do what he wanted to do, not realizing that because of what happened in 2010 and we didn't step back up and keep the Senate and keep the Congress, he literally was fighting for the last 6 years that he was in office. That was when they realized, well, the president, I hear you say the president, but they thought the president had more powers than what he really had. Okay. So again, we're really at that place again, because, I keep hating to go back to these 2 Senate seats. But if we don't get those, you're looking at a situation where Joe Biden, for all that he's promised that he will do, he will be at a weakened position because he can't get things through, because they are going to block it. They're going to try to block it. Mitch McConnell may work a little bit better with Joe Biden, maybe because he's a white man, but I don't put anything past him. So when you don't know the system, when you don't understand how things work, like I said, you just get discombobulated. You don't know,
And to credit your point, Twila, as we're having conversations, I'm hearing a lot of people ask the question, well, what is going to happen for Black people? What is going to happen for Black people? What people have to understand is that the candidates have platforms that they address for communities or populations and things like that, but you can't expect them to totally come in and just take over for your population. You have to be fair in your dealings, because one of the conversations that that I have in the barbershop, the barbershop comes up is, well, what did Obama what did he do for Black people? I said, well, when was his platform ever about Black people? It was about American people. You guys expected, because he was Black, to just come in and say, oh, we're going to change the hood. We're going to give you more money on your food stamp. But that's not his job. That's not his role, And so we have to take into account, going back to, if we want to make changes as a community, it's going to start with what Monica said. We have to hold our people at this local level accountable, right? So that the things can move up to where they're supposed to go, so that we can get the changes that we need made. This election should have shown a bunch of people that, my voice can be heard, right? Because all I heard before was that, oh man, I'm not voting. No, my vote don't count. But now you see the validity of your vote based upon, let's get away from voting in person, the mail-in votes. Those mail-in votes, that's what did it. That's what took us over. Your vote is important, but just because your vote and your voice. So let's tie those two things together to get ahead as people.
Well, I just want to come in and say a couple of things. We're talking about supporting our VP-elect. It's about money a lot of the times. You think about PACs, political action committees. We need to support Black political action committees. Flourish PAC. Please go to the website. Please look up Flourish PAC. Ida's Legacy. Higher Heights. I'm sorry?
Would you go back? Would you mind telling? Because everybody doesn't know what that is.
What a political action committee is.
Yes.
So a political action committee raises money for candidates, for political candidates. So when we create Black PACs, we're creating a force in politics to support these Black candidates. And most importantly, we're not just supporting candidates because they Black. I'm not doing that because I'm not going to support Ben Carson. You know, there's people who I'm not going to support, but I say support candidates with Black agendas. So Black PAC, Higher Heights, Flourish PAC, please check out Flourish PAC, Ida's Legacy. Also think about those organizations that get right down to the grassroots level. Like we talked about Fair Fight today. We really must engage these organizations, help, donate, get them money. And even if you can't give money, give them time. Right now, because we are in a pandemic, the entire campaigning process has changed. We can help Georgia from anywhere, because we can phone bank, we can text, we can help out from anywhere. So it's all about mobilization. It's all about money and messaging, really. And another way we already said, and I'm going to piggyback off what Twila said, flip the Senate. That's how we support Kamala. Flip the Senate. So, understanding the legislative process, we know how a bill becomes a law. Flip the Senate.
Sorority.
I like that. Flip the Senate.
Flip the Senate.
You need to hashtag that. Flip the Senate. I like that.
I can't take credit for that. I probably first heard that with Emily's list. So yeah, that's not an original Monica phrase, but I got plenty of original Monica phrases now.
Okay, so support. All of this is good. Like you said, we know how a bill becomes a law. Oh, thank you, Amy, for posting Flourish PAC. Name those again for us. Flourish PAC. The PACs that we need to
PAC. So that's spelled FLOU. Flourish PAC. So that's spelled FLOURISPAC. FlourishPAC.org. Also, you have Ida's Legacy. You also have Higher Heights, specifically for Black women. You also have the Collective PAC. Actually, Collective PAC, they had an ad during the BET Awards. They have 2 videos. What are some other ones? Political action committees raise the money to give these candidates to give them what they need to be successful in the run. Because like I said, when we already know what's going on. It's money wins races. We saw that with the current president. We see it. I know we see it locally a lot. And so there's some type of campaign finance reform. That's what it's going to be. But we have the numbers of people. When you think about making a grassroots effort for fundraising, think about if all the people that went out to vote just gave $5. Think about that. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
So that's how President Obama $2 at a time. Yeah.
Small donors.
Okay, really quickly, Soror Kelly, how do we keep this Black excellence train moving? Empowerment, support, what can we do?
I think education is key. I think about some of the dialogue and conversations that took place when I was volunteering at the polls, and even the day that I was standing in line to vote, that very first day. I think it's important that we are informed voters. You don't have to be an expert, but at least be prepared when you go to the polls to know a little bit about the candidate. and understand the legislative process. I think sometimes our expectations are unrealistic for candidates. And I think we need, if we have a better handle on the legislative process and the do's and the don'ts and, and what candidates are able to do in their respective positions, I think that will help us as voters have a better understanding of what to expect and to have those expectations measured accordingly. Someone mentioned about President Obama and how, the African-American community, just felt, what did he do for me? And I can remember being in a room with some people, African-Americans in the Houston area that considered themselves to be affluent because they had, several commas in their annual salary. And I can remember them saying, oh, I can't wait. Since he's been in office, this has gone down. My stock don't, look like what it used to. My 401k don't look like what it used to. And I thought to myself, man, for me, with that one comma in my salary, I was just excited that we had a Black man in the White House. So that part for me was just exciting. And that also that my grandmother lived to see that, that part was exciting for me. And so, I just think as Black people, we talk about, a little bit about this, our expectations of one another are just, we're just so rough. My ex-husband used to say, I treat men like sandpaper, rough. And I think we treat our community, like sandpaper. We rough. And I think we need to just not be so rough and hard on one another. That's it.
This has been the Speakeasy. This is the second round. We've covered, I feel like, so much ground. This time goes by so quickly. Both of you ladies have podcasts and you have platforms. Thank you so much. You get to keep these conversations going about community involvement and helping us to grow stronger and things like that. So I'll continue to share. I'll support. It's important for us to use our voices. Any last comments? So we talked about support. We talked about all the things. Give the people something. Leave them with a word before we let the Lord watch between me and me while we ask one another.
I would like to say just continue the momentum and think about what you're going to do next. I think I posted something on my Facebook page last week, and we need to just figure out what it is that you're going to do to help the administration. Now they're elected. How are you going to support the administration? What are you going to do on the local level to help, help and move their administration along? Just think about that. I think if we all just do a little bit, we can accomplish a lot.
Okay, Twila.
To piggyback off of Kelly, I see that we're on the 1 yard line. We're almost there. The game is not over yet. We cannot get we can't just sit back and think, okay, they've been elected. This is it. This is not it. This is just the beginning. And actually, from now until, this needs to be an ongoing effort. This cannot stop. This can never stop. There's always going to have to be fundraising, always going to have to be phone banking, always going to have to be door knocking, always going to be organizing, because if we do not, we will see ourselves back here again before you can blink. I'm telling you, they pencil whip us in our sleep. This has to be an ongoing thing, especially those of us who live in Texas. We'll be having a gubernatorial race coming up very soon. We need to be already planning for that. Okay, we need to be already wondering who's going to be the mayor of Houston, Texas. Okay, who we need to get behind for that. We need to be already looking at a couple years from now. Ted Cruz is going to be up again. So we have to. It never stops. It never stops. I highly encourage all of us to look at the playbook that Sister Stacey Abrams has come up with, because she's shown us the way how it can be done, how to actually from the grassroots start turning things over. I was watching not too long ago an interview with people in West Virginia. There was no one who had gone and visited those people in West Virginia, which is automatically assume, oh, they're going to always be red. And they had no idea. They were like, well, we kind of know about Donald Trump, but we don't have hear a lot about him. And well, we kind of guess that Joe Biden guy is pretty okay. Either one is okay with us. So just imagine if the Democratic Party had put some money there and had really flushed them with ads and stuff, who knows? That state could have come closer. But when there's no infrastructure, when people are not being educated, when they just feel like, okay, well, the presidential election is over, now we can sit back, this is how we end up with these terrible cycles. So my advice, piggybacking off of Kelly, is you have got to stay engaged, educate, organize. And if you can, when it at all possible, please send money. And if you can't send money, donate, dedicate your time.
Okay, thank you. And Monica, first, okay, give us your closing thoughts. I feel like you all ladies, you have the plan. Thank you for sharing that plan with us. What's next for you in the political arena? And then give us your closing words.
Well, I like I stated before, I'm a community advocate, so I'm all about service. So people to help others. I feel like that's my purpose, is to help others, to inspire others, to motivate others. Will I run for office again? Most likely, yes. But also, it's not just about running for office, it's about helping others. And right now we're at a critical time. We need to capitalize on this moment. We have an opportunity now to put an end to the many inequities, disparities, to put an end to these things that create these horrendous gaps in wealth and income and health and all these, in education and all these areas. So right now, the world, the globe is listening, and we have an opportunity to let our voices be heard, to make considerable change effort. So I'm all about confidence, courage, and camaraderie, because you got to have the confidence to do whatever you believe you are meant to do. You have to have the courage to do it. And you have to have that camaraderie, as we talked about before. We talked about the trifecta, someone said in the comments, with Kamala, Stacey, and Keisha. We have to do this together, but right now is the right time to capitalize on what's going on right now. And as everybody's having, there's a global conversation on equities for the Black community. And what I mean by whole change is through legislation. And the way we do that, and making our voices heard and being demanding. We demand what we owe. Our ancestors built this country. You have to stand up and say something. So, and when people want to, who really don't even care to take the time to put in a sweat equity to make change, but feel like, oh, because I have, I have this many, I don't know, fans on Instagram or something, or because I'm a celebrity and I could just tell people what. A lot of people out here doing this work understand the process. The best thing to do is to work together instead of just trying to get attention for your platform. It's about our platform. We got to do this together. And the best way, if those resources to people that can help the movement as well. Like I said, we leave that ego to the side, do this together. And the way we do this is everybody bring their expertise and we build a team, a powerful, dynamic team. And I'm going to tell you this not ending right here. I want to keep in touch with all of you, ladies and gentlemen, because I feel like it's great work we can do together across the nation. These different places here, let's work together. And I'm all for that. Confidence, courage, and camaraderie.
Thank you all so much. Melly Mel said, and I think this is it. And then you're getting ready to get out of here, PNC. Melly Mel said, this has been empowering. Great job, all panelists, Gram fam, and sorors. You all are a great representation of Black excellence. I'm thankful to be here. I have nothing else that I can add to this conversation. What you got, PNC? Turn your unmute. Here we go.
I just want to say how proud I am to be a part of such an illustrious group of panelists here. Being able to sit in this seat with women who know what they're talking about, women who are proud of who they are, women who don't mind excelling at what they're good at, and not being embarrassed to be Black, not being embarrassed that my hair doesn't look like yours, I don't have long hair, I'm not too dark. That right there has really, I'm gonna just tell you, you ladies have made my night, and I am thankful for this opportunity to have shared this seat with you guys. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to supporting you in the things that you want to accomplish as Black women over the next couple of years. Please never hesitate to reach out.
Good night, everybody, and remember to go out and speak it.
Y'all be easy.